Hello, New Testament students. We are in the 15th and final week of our class. We are finishing up with the final book in the New Testament, namely the Apocalypse of John, or the book of Revelation. Revelation singular, not revelations in the plural. So what we're going to do, we have 5 different objectives for this week. The first is we're going to introduce the genre of apocalyptic literature, or apocalypses. So there's going to be a video on this. You're going to read a little bit about this as well. And so by the end of the week, you should be able to, in your own words, in about 3 sentences, be able to explain what apocalyptic is, specifically sort of differentiating between the modern connotation of the word, which is often about end of the world scenarios, and the ancient connotation of the word, which is something different. And then be able to explain in 2 sentences how Revelation sort of fits into the apocalyptic genre, and explaining how understanding Revelation as an apocalypse helps us interpret it. Why does it matter? How does it help you know that this text is of this particular genre? How does it change the way you sort of read this somewhat weird this weird text with lots of vivid imagery in it? And then in about 3 sentences for each one, articulate 3 important things to know about Revelation. So being able to sort of, in your own words, take items from the top 5, or take items that you learn about Revelation from this week's readings, putting them into your own words and articulating what the important things to know about Revelation, what those are. And then explaining the genre of text Revelation is in about 2 sentences. The hint here is that it's certainly going to be apocalyptic, or an apocalypse, as these first 2 objectives suggest. But there's also some other features, generic features, or features of genre, that are going on in Revelation as well. Revelation is technically a letter. When you look at the very beginning of it, you'll see that it opens up like a letter, but then it doesn't follow letter writing conventions after the first 2 or 3 verses at all. And then lastly, be able to speak to the historical and cultural situations that Revelation addresses. That's going to be a situation of suffering and persecution. We're going to have a couple different options for when Revelation was written, under which Roman emperor, which is going to give us a couple different possible dates for when Revelation was written. But all of them seem to assume some kind of not official, but more local levels of suffering or persecution for the audience of the book of Revelation. And then as to what you're doing, we're doing course notes with lecture pauses for the 2 different videos, as well as your reading notes. And then this week we have an exhibit form. I'm going to ask you to sort of visualize a text from Revelation. One of the claims I'm going to make in the top 5 is that Revelation is a text really to sort of be experienced, and not simply to be explained. That is to say, like the vivid imagery in Revelation is not meant to be explained as referring to certain things in the future. That's sort of not its primary thrust or focus or agenda, but it's really meant to inflame the imagination, to sort of get you to visualize this imagery. And I'm going to ask you to do that in your own sort of artistic way. And I put artistic in air quotes, because you may not have an artistic bone in your body if you're anything like me. But I'm still going to ask you in some way to visualize a text from Revelation, to get at this idea that Revelation is a text to be experienced and not just explained.